El Salvador is raising $1 billion with a Bitcoin bond. And in today's video, I want to talk about some critical background information that you should know. Is this bullish for Bitcoin? Is this bearish for Bitcoin? What does it actually mean? How does this process actually work? And will other countries also adopt such a process? With this, let's get started. My name is Julian. On my channel, it's all about making you crypto fit. So if you're generally interested in blockchain, cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, altcoins, then please consider subscribing, be it on YouTube or be it here on Twitter or in the podcast or wherever you're watching this or on LinkedIn. I talk about this on a regular basis, so I hope this gives a little bit of value and insight to you. I've prepared a bit of a screen share, so let's dive in there. This is kind of the news update that came out a couple of days ago. El Salvador government strikes a deal with Bitfinex Blockstream, and I would also add Tether to this. Tether is also involved in that. You will see in a second. To issue a $1 billion Bitcoin bond. Now, obviously, this is still very, very general. Now, there's a couple of really important things here. Obviously, they're talking about a Bitcoin bond here, but actually, it is a $1 billion bond. That part of that is issued in Bitcoin. So you can see this here. So this is from the presentation there that they had. So the total is $1 billion. They're paying out 6.5%, and that's happening on an annual basis, I think, in January. You can see this here. The duration of a bond is 10 years. So just for those of you that are not fully aware how this works. So basically, El Salvador borrows $1 billion and then guarantees to pay it back 10 years later. On top of that, every January, it pays out 6.5% in coupon. So in this case, this would be 65,000 US dollars. It's 65 million US dollars. Now, here are a bit of the crooks in that, and that is why it is important. Now, the funding currencies in all of that is either US dollars, very unlikely. I think it's going to be more of Tether and Bitcoin. Obviously, the minimum here is $100, and it's going to get converted in that. So that is, I think, important in the whole kind of idea. Blockstream is involved because the entire thing is going to get issued via the Liquid network, and that's also relatively important. And I'm going to share a bit on what this means and how does this actually work, and what could I actually foresee in all of that. A key thing here is that obviously Bitfinex is involved, and those three companies are, if you want to talk about kind of the conspirators of the Bitcoin network, I think Blockstream as the tech provider for the Bitcoin protocol, I think it provides a major tech, and it was a major influence in pushing for smaller blocks and having a second layer on top of it, of course, because it's developing a lot of Lightning. Then obviously Bitfinex and Tether, Tether decentral bank for Bitcoin, and Bitfinex always a bit married into all that. So those three kind of together, and the deal here is that 50% of the billions, or 500 million, are to be invested in Bitcoin, and they have to be locked for 5 years. That's part of that deal. And on top of that, there is like a kicker for the investors, where, if the Bitcoin investment here does well, there's going to be a kicker for the investors that they participate from that upside. So they don't only get 6.5% on an annual basis, they also get the kicker here on top from the Bitcoin investment. So, with all these facts, let's kind of go through what's in it and what does this mean for us as Bitcoin investors. Well, first of all, I don't think that such an investment is actually a good investment. And the reason is you are basically giving $1 billion, actually giving $500 million to the El Salvador government, and maybe just for this is what their bond did, or their bond has done over the past couple of months. There's little trust in that government being able to actually pay it back. And the government has promised they're going to build Bitcoin City in there, and they kind of talked about this. There should be 0% tax. It's really kind of focused around Bitcoin and entrepreneurship and the investment size. They talk about that here. Now, I'm not criticizing that at all, and I'm not even saying that this is that I'm skeptical of that. I'm purely talking about, would I be giving dollars to the El Salvador government to actually execute on that? And that is, I think, the key thing here. And I think that's not, in my opinion, a smart move. First of all, most investors doubt that the $500 million that I'm giving to the El Salvador government, that they're actually able to pay the $500 million back. They're very skeptical of that. And actually, the market even states that, otherwise the bond wouldn't trade at a discount, right? So it's trading at 77, and normally the price would be 100. So it's actually trading at the discount. So what's actually happening is that the investors hope that the Bitcoin investment is actually recovering the other half of funds that are probably not gonna generate, like probably from the $500 million, it's not gonna get lost because there is gonna be some return. That makes sense. But obviously the market says it's probably gonna be a 25% discount on that, right? So probably maybe the government can pay back 400 million. So the 100 million need to be covered in something. And obviously the other bet is that Bitcoin is going up, because just imagine the other $500 million goes down, then, how is that going to get covered? So that comparison, in my opinion, to how MicroStrategy structures their deals is not exactly the same, because on MicroStrategy, the business model is very sound, and most investors are relatively confident that MicroStrategy as a business intelligence tool has a future long term. And that can be seen in literally how their software is used and how everything works. So that is important. There's a very important differentiator here between comparing El Salvador and, for example, to MicroStrategy. So that is key. So if you as an investor then say, well, but Bitcoin is going up, so I'm gonna get a really nice return there, and El Salvador is actually gonna be able to pay back the loan. Sure, but then why not invest $1 billion in Bitcoin? If actually the main bet here is on Bitcoin doing well and then basically covering for everything else. Now, the people who are giving them $1 billion, they're not stupid, right? We're talking about Bitfinex, a lot of whales on Bitfinex, Tether, and Blockstream facilitating all that. So what is their interest in all that? Well, it's very simple. Bitfinex obviously benefits in having a security exchange in El Salvador. So they're going to have a very strong footage there. On top of it, they're going to have some cash flow that they can get a cut out of. First thing. Tether, well, Tether always just wants to print Tether and wants to obviously the Bitcoin price to go up. And that's going to be a common theme in all of that. And then Blockstream needs to build some kind of usability for Liquid, because let's be honest, Liquid is not used for anything right now. So putting all these things together, you'll realize that the entire deal here is less about a bet on El Salvador being able to pay back Bitcoin, paying back $1 billion. Forget Bitcoin in that sense. It's actually just $1 billion. Bitcoin it's just that it uses half of the money to invest in Bitcoin, and part of Bitcoin, and I actually think a lot of Tether will actually be used for actually transferring the loan. That's actually completely irrelevant. It's really more for Blockstream, Bitfinex, and Tether to build their market dominance. And that makes sense. If you think about it this way, you will understand why these three firms are actually doing this. And it's actually a really, really smart move. So as a whole, I really think El Salvador is really benefiting from that, because I don't think they're going to get that cheap of money from anyone else. Blockstream, even if the Bitcoin loan is not doing well, they could still benefit from Liquid getting some adoption. Tether, well, for them, it's all about getting more Tether in circulation, especially considering how many other stablecoins there are. And for Bitfinex, it's exactly the same kind of idea. So, I just want to explain that. So, kind of transitioning this over, the question obviously is, how much is this going to benefit us as Bitcoin investors? And I think it's going to benefit us relatively little, because first of all, it has nothing to do with Bitcoin. The loan is not denominated in Bitcoin. The loan is still denominated in dollars. Yes, it's $500 million that get locked up in Bitcoin, but this could already actually come in Bitcoin, right? So it could actually easily be that the $500 million is actually transferred in Bitcoin. So it's not necessarily anyone is buying Bitcoin. It's just that's going to be transferred over from people who actually own already $500 million. And the other $500 million is just going to get spent, right? So as an entire kind of theme here, I don't see this as a big impact for us as an investor. The question then becomes, and that's actually now an interesting one, do I see other countries actually adopting such a model? And I could totally see that, simply because very little risk for the countries. I mean, if they just default on that loan, they're like, well, not my problem. Sure, you're not going to loan me any more money. Who cares? I still have the IMF, right? Yeah, I'm going to have different deals, but I can still go there. If you're loaning me money, great. So I totally see that. I also see Bitfinex, Tether, and Blockstream actually trying to stuff more of that deal into other kind of countries' throats. And I don't even think there's anything wrong with it. They're taking the financial risk. At the end, if they manage to build the Bitcoin brand that way, even better for me as a Bitcoin holder. It's just not something where I would loan a single dollar to, even though, for example, doing the MicroStrategy deal is a very interesting concept from a risk-reward perspective. So these are just a couple of my thoughts on this. I don't see larger, legit, kind of first world countries that have very easy access to super cheap money doing that. Again, 6.5% is not cheap money in today's like zero interest rate environment. But I think obviously that could be quite interesting. And then going forward, right, Bukele, the president, stated that he sees Singapore as a role model. And I live in Singapore, so that's going to be an interesting one to see a bit. I don't doubt that this is a bit of his role model. With centralized power, and he clearly exhibits that, always comes a lot of responsibility, and there comes risk. And let's see how he's going to deal with that and how he's going to be able to manage that. So I think as a whole, very, very interesting watch right now. I don't see this as a positive kind of price effect. I mean, otherwise the price would react. I also don't see that $500 million actually gonna get bought on the market. I don't see this at all. And so, yeah, these are a bit of my thoughts here. Again, maybe this sounds a bit more pessimistic. It's actually not. I just want to manage expectations in all that. And I feel sometimes Bitcoin fans try to hype things that are not that hypey. Whatever the settlement layer is not that relevant. I mean, sure, Bitcoin, Tether, all good. Liquid network, fantastic. But at the end, I don't see this affecting the price actually much. That specific thing. And I don't see first world countries adopting such a model just because they don't have to. Obviously, maybe Blockstream, Tether, Bitfinex would loan those first world countries for 1% interest rate or 0.5% interest rate. Could also be simply because of positive effects that truly could have from a reputational standpoint. So that could be obviously be a model. So these are my ideas on that. Let me know what you think. And again, if you want to have more of those takes, please subscribe. And then I'll see you hear you during the next talks. With this, all the best in the meantime. Stay safe, stay healthy, have a lot of fun in life. All the best. Yours truly, Julian. Bye-bye.